Welcome to the Bruins Benders podcast. It's season 2, episode 46. It's almost hockey season with Maddie and Smitty, brought to you on the Inside the Rink podcast network. InsideTheRink.com is your one-stop shop for all your NHL and ECHL news, insight, and analysis. Follow on Twitter at inside_the_rink. Download the Inside the Rink app, and you can subscribe to the Inside the Rink YouTube page to see us on YouTube and watch our episodes. Smitty will tell you how to sign up for ESPN Plus.
You can sign up for ESPN Plus by going to the Inside the Rink website. Go to insidetherink.com/ESPN and sign up today. I have ESPN Plus, and I love all the Major League Baseball, soccer, college sports, UFC, and much, much more. So sign up for ESPN Plus at insidetherink.com/ESPN.
And the college football season underway. I'll tell you what, I couldn't find a good game. Every game seemed to be 75-0 and 81-10. And oh my God, I couldn't find a game that was within, 40 points.
No, the only reason to watch right now is to get out the old DraftKings app and throw a little change on those.
Just bet.
Bad boys. Sure.
Yeah. Just take the over, evidently.
Yeah. And then the game is interesting for you.
Yeah. 81-7, I think Oregon won. 81-7.
Yeah, Clemson Duke beats Clemson, their first win against a top 10 opponent in like 100 years. Something like that.
Right.
The whole program was established, and Dabo Sweeney, the head coach of Clemson, is all like, we are God's team.
God's team.
We're in God's image and likeness, and since he's made those quotes, Clemson is 0-2. So maybe God does not give a crap about the Clemson Tigers.
I think it's god awful is the term for Clemson Tiger football.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a hockey season around the corner. Finally, see, this August is just rough.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on.
Not a lot going on.
Hockey just kind of stalls out in August. At least you can get through the draft and some free agency and stuff through July. But once August hits, it's the dog days. But we're right around the corner from training camp. We had the captain's practice was today for the Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
And Seven Chirps is sponsored by Lops Brewing, Lobster Brewing and Tasting Room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers, open 7 days a week. Use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your order. And you can go to lopsbrewing.com to place that order, or follow them at Lops Brewing on social media for new beers and events. Chirp number 1, 2 veteran forwards assigned to PTOs by the Bruins, Alex Chiasson and old friend Danton Heinen. First, Alex Chiasson, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's, he's a good veteran guy. He's had some playoff experience, some Stanley Cup experience. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't know if he'll make the team. But it's another veteran guy, maybe a little depth for the bottom 6. That can push some of those young guys, and maybe he can find his way onto the team, but I'm thinking it's unlikely.
Big dude, and kind of has a last year he had like 6 goals in like 20 games or something. Like he has kind of a penchant to score a goal here or there. Gets his big body in front of the net.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's something they are looking. I'll tell you what, they are going for more size, it seems.
It does.
Like they're getting a lot of size in their forward group. So I think that's a focus for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I like you. I don't think Chiasson is going to make the team unless there's a couple injuries or the young guys just don't perform well at all in training camp. But then there's Danton Heinen, and no one loves you some Danton Heinen more than Bruins fans.
They do.
They seem to love this dude universally, and I don't understand. I'm like, whatever. I mean, he's fine. Not a huge point getter, defensively okay, just kind of a guy that doesn't, almost like a PJ Axelson type of thing, just kind of, plays pretty good defensive hockey, doesn't really give you much offensively, here or there, like kind of a dime a dozen guy for me, but people seem to like him.
Yeah, I think it's a low risk signing for them. So he is good defensively, and he's played with some good players. And when he plays with good players, he chips in offensively. I think he has around 100 points and around 200 and some odd games, so a little bit less than half a point a game type of thing, which is actually pretty similar to Tyler Bertuzzi's numbers, as Ty Innocent pointed out on Twitter earlier today. So, maybe you get kind of a cheaper version of that. He doesn't have the intangibles, I don't think, that Bertuzzi has, as far as the way Bruins fans in general would like him to play, with a little more snarl and nastiness that Bertuzzi brings. But he does seem to be in the right place at the right time a lot of times, and has a knack for kind of scoring some goals around the net and so forth. And he had a pretty good rookie season with the Bruins back in the day. So I think it's kind of a low risk thing. Another guy who could add a little depth to the bottom six, and maybe you find something there if he plays with the right combination of guys. Again, I'm not sure he makes the team. Maybe he's there to push some of the younger guys a little bit, and you kind of see what happens and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine. I mean, he's okay. But what I really didn't understand though is why no one signed him. I mean, he's only 28, just turned 28 in July, and I thought maybe someone would sign him. He didn't have a great year last year, but he did have a good year this first year with Pittsburgh. Of course, he played a little bit with Crosby, I think, too, here and there, so that helps.
Yeah.
But I don't know quite, who he's going to play with here, which makes a difference, like you said.
No.
I mean, if he goes out with guys who aren't really great playmaking type players and not really offensively gifted type players, there's probably not going to be a lot of production there for him. But it'll be interesting to see. They seem to have a logjam of a bunch of bottom six type guys, either young or veteran, and you got to weed through the thing. It seems to be 15, 18 guys there, just kind of, all muddled up. So I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what it is. It's about creating that competition and seeing who rises to the top. One of the things about him that I think is part of the reason that you don't feel like he's anything special is because he doesn't do anything exceptionally well. He's not a great skater. He's not a great passer. He's not exceptionally big. He's not, doesn't have a great shot. He's just a combination of things that add up to a pretty good player. And that's what he is. He's pretty good. And so if he's on the third or fourth line and plays 10 minutes a night, whatever. If he's going to chip in a little bit offensively and be responsible defensively, I don't see any downside really to that. But, maybe you have a younger guy with a little more upside that you could play there instead. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like you say, though, you typically need an elite skill of some point, something. And he really doesn't. Like, not an elite shot, not an elite playmaker, not an elite, I guess he's not really elite anything. So that's interesting. And that's probably why he's not signed. It's because he doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So chart number 2, David Pastrnak ranked first by NHL Network in the top 20 wings in the NHL. Agree with that one?
No, I don't. I love David.
Yeah.
I love David, but I don't think he's the best winger in the game.
Who do you have for a winger?
I would say probably Tkachuk is above him.
Yeah. Okay.
He might be the only one, though.
I think so. I think I'd have Pastrnak in the 2 range with, because then you get Kucherov and Rantanen and Robertson and Marner.
Yeah.
And Robertson's really good.
Robertson's really good. So I might put Robertson above him too, because I think he does a little bit more of everything. He has more of a complete game, I think.
Right.
So I might put him above, but he doesn't score on the same level goal wise that Pasta does when he's on.
No.
And so I think that probably puts Pasta, he's definitely top 3. I don't know if I would have him 1. Like I said, I think I'd probably have to chuck 1, and then you could make an argument for either Robertson or Pasta for number 2.
Now they have Marchand 10th. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably where he belongs. Maybe even a little lower than that, coming off the year he had last year, where he was good, but not the Marchand that we've been seeing, the previous 3, 4, 5 years. So I think that's probably in the right area for him. Could he rebound and bounce back into the top 5? Absolutely, he could.
Sure.
He could also slip lower, coming off of a couple of he had the hip surgeries, and can he rebound from that at however old he is, 33, 34 years old.
Right.
As he starts to get up there in age, it's harder and harder to come back from stuff like that. So there's ways that he could go either one way or the other, and
Sure.
it's up to him to kind of decide which way that's going to be.
And one thing I didn't agree with, they have Mark Stone at 19, and I think I've always thought Mark Stone was very underrated. They have him behind Clayton Keller and Jake Gensel and
No way.
and Ryan Nugent Hopkins. I'd take Mark Stone in a heartbeat over all those guys.
Yeah, I think he's a better all-around player. I don't think they account probably for defense in this.
No,
this
it's just pure production. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a guy that you want on the ice late in games, I'm going to pick Mark Stone over a bunch of those guys.
Yeah, I am too. All right, Chirp 3, top 50 prospects were revealed 25 years of age and under, less than 25 games in the league, and 15 games for goalies. Do you think there were any Bruins on that list?
No, I do not.
No, there were not any in the top 50, and that includes Lowry and Lysell. None of them in the top 50 in the league.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that. I mean, the Bruins prospect ranking has been towards the bottom of the league for quite a while. I feel like it's on the cusp of maybe making a little bit of a rebound, a little bit of a comeback. They've got some guys that they drafted who seem to have some upside. Poitras had a really good year last year. Lowry looks like he may be, on the brink of possibly cracking into the Bruins lineup. If not, he's going to have a full year in the A. Lysell has been up and down kind of, but he's, a dynamic player. So they have a couple guys there that, possibly, in the short term could crack into that top 50.
Yeah, I think, they have, I think their top 5 is much stronger than it was. I think it drops pretty significantly after that. And I think that's the problem. Because after Lowry and Lysell and Poitras and a couple of those guys in there, it hits a little bit of a cliff. But I will say that the 2018 draft now has only Jakub Lauko and Curtis Hall left in the organization, and then 2019 really only has Johnny Beecher. I mean, Quinn Olson's in there, but that's about it. It's 2020 that really needs to come of that, and that's Lowry, Kuntar, Langenbrunner, and Duran. I mean, that's that they need something. They need something. Now, by all accounts, Lowry should be pretty good, but they need something because 17 was Swayman and then a bunch of guys who are not in the organization anymore, and then 18 and 19 have become Lauko's on his last legs. It seems like that's a swing and a miss, and you just can't have like 3 drafts like that in a row. So that's tough. And then 2020 is a big one. I mean, those 4 guys, you need a couple of those guys. If Kuntar and Lowry are pretty good, then I think you're okay. But if they're not, then oh man, like those 3 years are a struggle. So they'll need it big time. All right, Chirp 4, notable free agents for next offseason. You can take Austin Matthews off the list.
Oh, that's too bad.
4-year deal, $13.5 million a year. And we thought that was a guy that the Bruins should go after hard, and now he's off the books. But you got Steven Stamkos, William Nylander, Mark Scheifele, who his name still I saw on Twitter today.
Yeah.
Still linked with the Bruins in some fashion. Jake Gensel, um, Elias Lindholm, and then Jonathan Marchessault, who I'd love to be a Bruin.
Mm-hmm.
And then defenseman is weak. Devin Taves, Noah Hannafin, Brandon Montour, and then of course the goaltenders. I don't think they'll need one of those. But so really, it's getting thinner quick.
It is getting thinner quick, and if I'm the Bruins, I want to come out of that next offseason with like one of Nylander, Lindholm or Scheifele. If I had my druthers, like I'm coming out of there with one of those guys, because those guys are all, either coming into their prime or in their prime now, and would really help solve that center problem with the departures of Bergeron and Krejci. So I really feel like you need to come out of that off season with one of those guys in order to kind of help solidify, down the middle.
I'm really concerned that they have all this cap space, and all we talk about is, hey, they're going to have all this cap space, and they're going to be able to turn the roster over and so forth. But if there's just not a lot there, then I'm not sure what they're targeting. If one or two of those guys gets extended, then boy, who do you get, and who then do you work on trades, and they don't have a lot to trade. So I don't think it's, people say, well, they have a lot of cap space, they'll go out and get a couple guys. Well, I don't think that's guaranteed. Like, so could they be left holding the bag at the end?
Absolutely, they could. It's happened to them before,
right?
With some guys, Tavares being one, and Iginla, being another, where he went to Pittsburgh initially, and then came to Boston. So, I mean, it's happened to them a few times where they've kind of tried to get guys, either thought they had deals done or were in it till the very end, but just couldn't close the deal when it came right down to it. So, I'd be worried about that until one of those guys is inked and you see the little scroll of the breaking news thing coming across InsideTheRink.com saying, Bruins have signed so-and-so. I'm worried about it until that happens, until you get one of those guys signed and on the dotted line and to help fill that center void. It's a concern. Absolutely.
It is. And I mean, they don't have, do they, if that happens, do they then, move on from Lysell or Lowry? They'll have to trade some of those guys to get, pieces in there, or just rely on these young kids to come in and accept roles. So that's going to be an extremely interesting offseason next year, especially if they don't play well, and if they don't have a great year this year. If they don't make the playoffs, and then you go into that offseason similar to 2015 when they traded Lucic and Hamilton and all that, and tried to change the roster over when Sweeney took the job. Like, that's it's going to be very interesting what happens.
I was going to say, I'll tell you one thing: if they're out of it come Thanksgiving, they should really seriously consider tanking and trying to get into the top 5 and get a pick that could be a game changer type of player. Right. The kid, I can't think of what his name is, that's going to BU there. He could be a really, not necessarily a generational talent like a McDavid or anything like that, but a really good player that you could build around for years to come. So if they're out of it, they have to seriously consider going the old tank route and see if they can get into this lottery and get up towards the top.
Yeah, they do. I agree totally. I mean, to me, it would be better for them to, instead of trying to scratch and claw to get a playoff berth, it'd be better just to trade some guys and just sort of start a rebuild. Chirp 5 EA cover athlete for NHL 24 is Cale Makar. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great, but it's a year too late.
Right.
Well, I mean, why don't you have the guy on the cover when he's the fucking Conn Smythe MVP and the team wins the cup? They don't put him on then. They put Austin Matthews on again? I mean,
Yeah.
Austin Matthews was on the cover twice in 3 years.
Right.
You're telling me there's no other superstars in the league that could be on the cover of the damn game?
Right.
And then they put Zegras and Sarah Nurse on it this past season.
Yeah.
That's great. Zegras has had the, some highlight reel type of stuff, and, they're trying to get more, inclusion with women in hockey and so forth. And that's great. But yeah, I love Cale Makar. But it's a year or two too late.
Right.
They don't put him on when he's the MVP of the goddamn league.
Right.
They put him on 2 years afterwards when he's coming off, a knee injury.
I would have put Eichel on it. I mean, they just won the fucking cup.
Me too. I don't understand the logic of the people that work. It's like they don't follow the sport.
They may not.
It's like they watch. It's like they do the game and they know the players and they rate them all, but then they don't really understand the sport. Mm-hmm. And it's maddening for the people that play the game. That've been complaining about the game forever. And then, the people who make the decisions to put athletes on the cover. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And, I don't know why I care so much, but it is frustrating when they, like you said, they're just late to the game and they come up with this, out of bounds, or Austin Matthews situation. Like there's 300 people in the league.
There's no excuse for putting him on the cover twice in 3 years.
No, there's none. Why?
You can't give me any.
He's not even the best player in the league. I mean, he's a great player.
Give me a rationale that makes sense of that. You can't.
Right.
You could say anything, and I will plug my ears and hold my breath and not fucking listen to you, because you can't give me any excuse that will make sense of that. You can't.
No. If you're gonna do that, just put McDavid on it every year.
Yeah, do McDavid every year, or do a Legends cover and put Gretzky on the damn thing
every year. Yeah,
whatever. Do something.
I don't know.
Original, but not the same guy 2 years in a row. Did I download the wrong game? Did I download the same game over again by mistake?
Game?
Is this a different cover? Did I? I've been playing the game
again.
You want? I still play it as ridiculous as it is. As a 50-year-old man, I still play the game.
3 years of
I've been playing it forever, and I'll probably pre-order this one and play it again. And I love it. I love playing it. But I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I hear you. All right, Chirp 6. Bruins signed former Harvard captain John Farinacci. 61 points in 79 collegiate games, a World Junior gold medal, 5 goals in 7 games during that tournament. Physical player, and a nice get.
I think so. Right? I think it was a nice get. I think there were some other teams that were after him. I think he plays kind of a crispy, chippy style, and he has some offensive instincts and talent. So anytime the Bruins can add a guy like that they don't have to draft. Because they have not as many draft picks as we would hope them to have because of all the trades and so forth over the course of the last few years here. It's great. It's great. It's a great ad, and hopefully they can do it some more with some other college free agents and the like.
Providence should have a really interesting team this year. I mean, they might have Frederick Brunet in there. They might have a guy like Farinacci. Like they'll have some good, intriguing players on the team this year. So we'll see. And I like the signing. Like, look, they have to go the college free agent undrafted route. They have to. And they love the Hockey East. They love the ECAC. They love the New England teams.
Well, I mean, it is good hockey. There's a lot of good talent really close by, so you get to see a lot of really good players close up, and they take advantage of that, which they should. But there are other avenues. There are other places.
Yeah, there are other places
where people play hockey, and
they finally realized where the Ontario Hockey League was, because they did draft a couple guys. So they did get Poitras, and So, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good get, and hopefully, I mean, they just have they just seem to be, just picking off the apple tree. Anybody they can sort of put the scrounge together and try to find the right mix, I guess. But we'll see what happens with Farinacci. And then Chirp 7, every NHL team's best off season acquisition by daily faceoff, and for the Bruins they listed Jesper Boqvist.
I just don't get
That's
it.
the best off-season acquisition for your Boston Bruins.
I don't feel that that's true at all.
No.
I mean, for me, I think I probably would go with Morgan Geekie for me,
Right.
because of the position he plays, the style he plays, and his metrics were really good, and it seems like there might be some upside there, some untapped potential there that hopefully turns into something a little bit more substantial, and maybe you have another Pavel Zacha type situation on your hands. So for me, it's Morgan Geekie fairly easily.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it's Jesper Boqvist that is the daily faceoff. I don't know what their criteria were, but it's not the same one I would use. I'll tell you that.
Geekie is definitely the pick. I mean, definitely. I mean, I'd go JVR before I go friggin' Boqvist. I mean, my goodness. And the rest of the league is a who's who of former Bruins. Connor
Really
Clifton with the Sabres, Dmitry Orlov, Thomas Nosek, Blake Wheeler, Tyler Bertuzzi. Wow. Oh, my goodness.
It really is.
And how about Pat Maroon with the Wild?
Yeah. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
they fill the Ryan Reeves is gone from there, I believe, right?
Right.
Is he still there?
Is Reeves? I don't know if Reeves is still there. I don't know. I don't think so. Garnet Hathaway with the Flyers. Wow.
Okay.
There's a few there. Maroon, wherever he goes, they win the cup. So maybe the Wild are your pick this year to win it all. But yeah, that's I would definitely pick Geekie, and I'm really intrigued by Geekie. I think I'm really looking forward to see him play and see if they found another Zacha type where they get a guy in his prime, just entering his prime, who has some ability, who has projected up, and maybe he can be a nice little sneaky, and they got him 2 years, which could be a really good deal. A really good deal by them. All right, DraftKings Sportsbook, Boston's hometown sportsbook, is live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $200 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using code ITR. You can now bet local on money line, spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks, DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up with the code ITR to get up to $200 in bonus bets to use. Now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts, that's code ITR only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If you or a loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist free and confidentially 24/7. 21 plus, physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA.
So we talked last episode, about 3 weeks ago, about who had the worst contract on the Bruins roster. So we had a poll, 483 votes. This poll really struck a nerve. And because it was mainly because of the selections: Charlie Coyle, David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy, and Brandon Carlo. And the reason why I picked these four was because all over Facebook, especially, people were hammering on like Pasternak's deal and McAvoy's deal and even Carlo's deal and so forth.
Yeah.
So we put it out there, and coming in at 5% was Charlie McAvoy, 10% Pastrnak, 28% Brandon Carlo, and 57% was Charlie Coyle, with a lot of write-ins for Derek Forbort.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Forbort had a lot of write-ins. Here's the problem with Forbort. Like, first, I mean, he's only making $3 million. It's not like he's making like $6 million. It's not great, but he's a $3 million. He's probably a $2 million defenseman, a $1.75 million defenseman, making $1 million too much, probably.
Yeah, he's
At the
probably a
end of the
$2
day.
million defenseman at the end.
At the end of the day. So it's Coyle's term, and it's a little. And I think he's priced at about $1 million too much. So that's where I don't love it. But this is a big year for Coyle. He's 31 years old, so I wouldn't expect him to jump up and get 70 points. Like, he is what he is. But it's a big year for him as far as the Bruins are concerned, because they really need him to produce and be a top 6 center, which we've said all along. He really isn't if you're trying to be a really good hockey team.
No, if you're trying to be a cup contending team, he's not a top 6 center. He's a really good third line center.
Sure.
A really good one. Like a really, really good one.
Yeah.
But is he a top 6 center? No, because he doesn't produce enough to be a top 6 center, and he never really has. He's shown flashes, and maybe he'll put it all together. But there's the difference, and we've talked about it before, between being a really good player and a great player is the consistency. You go through stretches where you don't really do much, or you have 10 or 12 games where you have 1 point or 2 points. The really, really good players, that doesn't happen to them. It just doesn't.
No.
They produce consistently. They might go through a stretch where they have 3 or 4 games where they have 1 or 2 points. But then they'll bounce back in the next 10 games, they'll have 12 points. Coyle's not really that type of player. So it's the term, and it's also the fact that he's making, $2.5 million more than Forward is. So it's not,
right.
$1 million more at $3 million to $2 million. It's $1 million more at 5.25, 5.5 to 4.25. It's a little bit more money. It's more of a percent of your cap. So that affords you, or doesn't afford you, the ability to go out and get other guys to fill in some spots where maybe you need one. So I think that's really the biggest issue is the production and the AAV, really.
Right. And before we go, I wanted to touch on Jake DeBrusk. In what he said recently, just a couple of days ago, that he really wanted to be in Boston, kind of grew up here as a player. A complete 180 from a couple of years ago with Jake. What's it going to take, and what would you do as far as... See, I think they'll sign him to an extension during the year as long as he produces the first month or two. Like, if he shows that he can produce without the Krejcis and the Bergerons of the world, if he can do it without them, then I think they sign him and extend him. But what do you think the number would be, and what do you think the Bruins are willing to do?
I think the number is going to be just south of Marchand, in that range. I think it's probably, if he produces and he's on pace for 30 goals again, like, those guys are valuable in the league. If he's driving the play on the first line with Marchand and that line's kind of clicking and they're producing, I could see a 6x6 type of thing with him. A little bit less than Marchand. But in that, around 6 ballpark, I would say is probably, what I would do. Would I go above that? No, I don't think I would.
Would you go 6 years?
I would probably go.
You would? Okay.
Because he's what, 20?
He's 20. He'll be 27.
Oh,
I think
27.
he's 20. I think he's. Yeah, I think he's. I think he may even be 27 now.
Okay.
So this deal is going to take him to like 33 years old.
Yeah, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go more than 6 years. I don't think I would. If you get him for 4 years, I would do that. But I don't know if you can. I don't know.
Yeah, he'll be 27 in October. Yeah.
He probably is. He probably is looking for a big secure deal. So 6x6, something in that range. I would do. If you could do 4 years at 6. I would do that instead. I mean, maybe you go 4 years and you give them a little bit more. Maybe it's 4 and 6.5. But I wouldn't really go much higher than that. I don't think I would give him 7. I certainly wouldn't give him 6 times 7. Unless he has, an outstanding year and he's going to get blown away in free agency. I mean, he'd probably get more than that in free agency anyway, just because it's stupid. And we'll just spend money to spend it. But, does he want to be on a good team like the Bruins and an original 6 team that he knows, or does he want to go to, Arizona or San Jose or some shit?
Right. And those would be the teams that would overpay. Those would be the teams that would overpay. I mean, I might go. I really love the shorter term. Like, I just worry with DeBrusk once he gets his money. Let's say he gets 6 times 6 or whatever. I just worry with DeBrusk that is the drive still going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is his big deal, or his like a big chunk of his career deal right here. Because after that, when he's 34 or whatever, it's 1-year deals probably going out as he retires. So I just worry because we've seen him with lack of motivation. You know what I'm saying? We've seen him. There's a history there of him not giving great effort. Being a passenger for certain reasons. But he's been capable of that before. You know what I'm saying? So it's in his DNA that it could happen. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing that worries me is that once he gets the big deal, is he still like motivated to play because it's guaranteed money. Like they can't take that money away from him in the NHL.
Right.
So he gets the money. So that's the only thing I'd be concerned about with him. Like, he's a good player. I like him a lot. And when he's playing well, he's really good. And he's been much better defensively, too. He's become a pretty good, well-rounded player.
Yeah, he has been.
But there's still in the back of my head there, like that he's capable of kind of mailing it in. You know what I mean? When things aren't right. And that's the only thing that I have just sort of a caveat with.
I mean, it's definitely a worry. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
And, when Marchand comes off the books in a couple of years, or 3 at the most, I think. So there'll be money there, and there's going to be, a cap creeping up and all of that. So there'll be money there for Jake. And like you said, if he's a 25 to 30 goal scorer, they don't grow on trees.
No.
So I mean, that's the going rate. So unless you want to go get another guy and hope that he plays well here, or get the proven guy, I mean, it's a tough one with him. But I really think it gets done by Thanksgiving. I really do. I really think it gets done. I think he, if he just comes out and is producing right away and playing pretty well, I think they extend him before the first of the year. I do. I really do. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, I hope it happens because I think he's one of their good young players that when he's going well is pretty dynamic. So it's a good guy to lock up, still being young and all. And I think another reason I think that they would do it, and even though this is that whole draft was kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
So, in order to kind of save a little face there, you can say, look, we hit on a guy in that draft.
Yeah, we hit on a guy. Yeah.
We hit on a guy. He's here long term. He's been a really good player for us and so forth and so on. So, I mean, I don't think that would be a driving force behind it, but I think that's in the back of their minds, a little bit, saying, I gotta keep this guy. I gotta sign this guy. Maybe a little face from that terrible draft we had.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. And the other point is they don't have a ton of young talent, so they're kind of backing themselves in the corner where here's probably the most talented young guy they have, and they have to do what it takes to sign him. And if he, maybe he uses some of that leverage, I'm not sure. I mean, I know his dad's involved and stuff, so I don't think he's taken less than he feels his market value is. So, and then there was the guy who just signed. Who was it who just signed? Who was a similar player to him that got 6 times 6 or whatever it was. Or was it 8 years? It was some ridiculous deal, and people were saying, "Well, this is kind of what DeBrusk was going to, might get." So that's kind of scary too. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it gets done, and I think the Bruins go. I'm going to call it. They go. I think they try to go like 5 years at 6 and change, 6.25 or something
Okay.
like that. But we'll see. So we're a week away from rookie camp, and then 10 days away from the first prospect challenge game in Buffalo. We're going to see a bunch of those young pups in the prospect challenge and at rookie camp. We will keep an eye on it from Jamaica over in the Oyster Bay section,
We
and
will.
with our flavored drinks and our umbrellas, and have a good old time. Yeah, it's a good. The timing is good. That it's right before the season starts. It's a good little, getaway that gets us pumped up for the season.
Yeah.
And then this season is just going to be like an all timer for the Bruins Benders podcast.
We got some stuff in the pipeline that we can't really speak on now that we're pretty excited about. Some nice collaborations and some things that we're really, really excited about to share with you guys when the time's right. So yeah, it'll be a nice little relaxing refresh, get us refreshed and back from Jamaica just in time for the training camp to kick off, and we'll jump right into the season and be ready to go and blasting on all cylinders.
Oh yeah, blasting on all cylinders.
And the season opens. Yeah.
Yeah. And you want to check out the Coast to Coast podcast. I was on that podcast with March and Danny. That was a good time. We talked Bruins and some Bruins Canadians history. So that was fun. So check out that pod on all platforms. And we will be back again in a couple of weeks when we get back from Jamaica for the season 3 premiere of the Bruins Benders podcast. Until then, thanks a lot for listening, and go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Black Betty, bam lamb, whoa, Black Betty, bam lamb, Black Betty had a child, bam lamb, the damn thing gone wild.